Stephanie. So Stephanie has been working with IMF for more than 20 years. Here I want to probably ask you some questions about development. Since you have been working with IMF for more than 20 years, can you share with us the most updated trends or opportunities for all these and challenges in policy making to address all these high-level inequalities, since we are talking about inequality today, and also how this reach sustainable development goals?
Thank you very much for having me here. This is really a great opportunity. You asked me about trend, opportunity, and challenges. Global poverty and economic gaps between countries reduced significantly in the last 20 years. Yeah. But inequality remains high, particularly in developing countries. Domestic policy plays a big role in increasing inequality or reducing inequality. So the first challenge is really to understand the impact and the channels through which policy reforms for growth can affect inequality and income distribution. Second, it needs to really policymakers need to identify winners and losers. To reach both growth and equality goals, it can be particularly hard in countries where affected by distortion, such as, for example, large informal sectors, or countries where workers don't really have the possibility to grab the opportunity that transformation brings through to move to more productive sectors, because they don't have the skills, because they don't have the financing means to move and the structure to move. They don't have road to move from the rural to the urban areas. So it's really, but our research show that packages can be designed, reform packages can be designed to make reform more palatable for both growth and inequality perspective. So there is hope there, and I think policymakers have to grab the opportunities from the onset to design reform packages that can reach both growth and equality goals.
Great. Thanks very much, Stephanie. So since we are talking about growth, how can we promote all these growth payoffs in the low-income countries and make sure that all these countries can have more inclusive plans for their future?
Well, domestic policy and reforms for growth can, in developing countries, they're crucial for their strategies, like, for example, increasing the tax base for financing development, increasing spending in infrastructure investment, deepening the financial sector, providing access to larger parts of the population, increasing the productivity of agriculture. These reforms not necessarily benefit everyone. But again, there are measures, there are reforms that can help in making these reforms bear growth and the fruit of growth to be more widely distributed. Let me make an example. If Ethiopia, for example, were to embark in financial sector reforms that, like in their strategies, they aim at increasing private sector activity and stimulating the manufacturing sector, which is a highly productive sector, than agriculture, which is a very large sector in Ethiopia. It's like 75% of the economy. These reforms would boost growth and increase employment, but they will not necessarily help the poor people in the agriculture sector, because they don't have access to financial reforms. So complementing the reforms with broadening financial services to the rural population, giving the worker opportunities to improve their skills through training, through accessible, affordable educations, providing infrastructure that help them move from the rural make easier to move from the rural to the urban areas. These can really help make inequality, reduce inequality across sectors and overall of the economy.
Great. So there are huge potential for all these low-income countries to achieve their development. So since we're here for the morning and so we have really exciting events here going on, so how do you think the interactive sessions here and also the game can contribute to all this policy making to make sure that they can create their more inclusive agenda? How about your ideas about this?
2015 really marked a milestone for development. All the world had the eyes and focus on the Sustainable Development Goals, how to achieve them. As time passes by, people move on and forget. Events like this one are really crucial for keeping the momentum on. And achieving the Sustainable Development Goal is not easy. And the global and domestic environment since 2015 have become more challenges, more difficult. So these kind of events are really important for sensitize people, for bringing on the table new ideas, new solutions, and for keep the focus on the Sustainable Development Goals.
All right. So, during the coffee break, I talked with many delegates here. I found that for this time, where the people come from a very diverse backgrounds. They are different stakeholders like policymakers, governments, and also from UN, civil societies. How do you think that all these diverse background of delegates will contribute to implement the Sustainable Development Goals? And what do you think of this event, different from other, SDG titled events globally?
Like you say, these events, the Global Festival for Ideas, really bring together a variety of stakeholders, from the private sector, government's representative, international institutions like the IMF, NGOs, civil society. So this is really important for maintaining the success of the SDGs. But what is really important, I think, is that these kind of events can bring cooperation. And cooperation is crucial for the success of the Sustainable Development Goal. And I would like just to highlight 3 levels of cooperation. One at the national level. Stakeholders really have to have a common goal to bring on and agree on the objective for development of the countries and how to implement them. The other is a global level. Countries have to agree how to carry on the delivery of public goods, such as maintaining global economic and financial stability, reducing global warming, promoting development through aid to poor countries. So these are all levels. There is, I think, scope for everybody to play a role, depending on their mandate and the skills.
Great, thanks very much. And also, before we go to Q&A here, I got one more question. You talked with me that you have been, working in IMF, working with all these, different countries. So, from your perspective, what's your suggestions for all these countries take action to better achieve SDGs?
The SDGs are very ambitious, but I think they are achievable. And countries can take action to spearhead their own development and boost growth and make it more inclusive. Clearly, the recipe is different for each country, depending on their economic and social condition, the level of development. But there are some common elements. They are, I think, universal. One is macroeconomic and financial stability, which is a must, but it doesn't do it by its own. There is a need for developing countries, for example, to go through transformation, transform their economy, increase the resilience of their economy. And to do that, they also need to consider boosting the productivity of the big sectors, like in many of these countries, 50% of the population is involved in agriculture. So there is a need to increase agriculture productivity. At the same time, they have to finance all these developments. So domestic resources, they need to mobilize domestic resources. If you think that low-income countries, the revenues to GDP ratio is like 20%, which is half of what is in advanced economies. So they need to boost their resources to finance pro-growth financing spending, like, for example, investment. But also here, investment has to be done in an efficient way. Our research shows that 30% of the potential of investment is lost in an efficiency, for the inefficiency problem. So there is a need to boost investment and human capital through affordable education and through through training. So, but again, growth doesn't do it by itself. It needs to be shared more widely across the society. So inequality is an issue to tackle, and governments can do that. How to improve health, access to health and educations, gender issue, gender opportunities, to give women the same economic and rights and access to public and financial services, so they can develop their economic potentials and be active in the labor force.
Thank you very much. I think probably we can take one question. If anyone have a question here. No question? No question? Yeah, this is fine because you share enough and very knowledgeable, all this information, and I think it's very knowledgeable and very useful for all this, not only for member states, but also I think for young people who are starting development. I think there's not traditional models for development, but also there's more, new models for growth. There's, I saw that some young people sitting downstairs. I think this will definitely create some new ideas, new thinking for them. Thanks very much, Stephanie, and great talking to you here.
And again, congratulations for the event.
Yeah, thank you.